What does it mean to be white? And why are white people so bad at talking about race? After spending 20 years running diversity trainings for big companies, Dr. DiAngelo has heard every excuse in the book from white people on why they weren't racist. They had a black friend at work, they were colorblind, they did Teach for America.
Because, I'm vegetarian, so how could I be racist?
White people provided her with all of their evidence and credentials that proved they couldn't be racist.
Put on your seatbelt, listeners. White people are all racist.
So after 2 decades of talking to white people about race, Dr. DiAngelo realized that not only were white people terrible at talking about racism, but they were oblivious to it, even millennials.
I've been doing a lot of work with tech companies, and most of the employees are under 30, and they are oblivious. They see themselves as open, and yet they can't engage with any nuance or depth. And so they're flabbergasted when their very few coworkers of color share with them how much pain they're in.
Why are white people oblivious to racism? Well, for one, we can't even answer what it means to be white or have a race.
If I can't answer that question, what does it mean to be white, I'm not going to be able to hold what it means not to be white. I'm not going to have any ability to validate an alternative experience. And that is what it's like for people of color every day. When they try to talk to us about their realities, we, in a range of ways, refuse that reality. Most of us will claim that race has no meaning to us. Or if it has meaning to us, we've been in no way touched by racist conditioning or racist messages. Most of us feel exempt from the literal water we're swimming in.
And the reason we feel exempt from the entire world around us is because we've convinced ourselves that we're different from other white people. Look, we know some white people are racist, but we're not like them.
This idea that we're all special and unique, and that if I just knew this about you, I'd know why you were different. After all, you've been in Teach for America, haven't you?
All right, so let me get this straight. We don't want to acknowledge our own race despite living in a society where it has profound meaning, which makes it really hard to talk about racism. And yet the most offensive thing to call a white person is a racist. What's up with that?
Racists are mean individuals who consciously don't like people based on race and intentionally seek to harm them. If that is your definition of a racist, and I say to you, boy, what you just said was racist, you're going to hear that I just said you were an intentionally mean person.
Right.
And you're going to experience that as a question to your very moral integrity.
Right, because then it means you're a genuinely bad person and you're immoral.
Right. Everyone has racial bias, but this is part of what makes it so challenging. We know it on some level, but we can't admit to it because we believe it would mean we were immoral.
Dr. DiAngelo pointed out that white people live the most segregated lives of any other racial group. Let that sink in for a second. We, white people, are the most segregated group of any race. And when we describe our segregated environments, we call them good.
When you tell me this is a good neighborhood, the assumption is it's white. When you tell me it's a good school, that's the assumption. When you tell me it's coming up, it's getting whiter. You tell me it's going down, getting less white. You tell me it's sketchy, not white. White people measure the value of our schools and our neighborhoods by the absence of people of color.
All of this adds up to the dynamic that Dr. DiAngelo calls white fragility. Now, if you've heard that before, let us know in the comment section below and where you heard it. But basically, it's the idea that white people are totally unable to sustain even the most minimal level of racial discomfort.
We make it so miserable for people of color to talk to us about our inevitable and often unaware racist patterns that most of the time, trust me, they don't. It's not worth it. They risk more punishment. They risk our hurt feelings, our defensive-ness. If we're white women, they risk us bursting into tears. And then they become the aggressor and we become the victim. And so it's a really effective form of everyday white racial control.
Our culture is really, really good at reproducing racial inequality. It's what we've always done. And so in order for this system to maintain itself, all we have to do as white people is just be nice.
Just be really nice. Go smile at your coworkers of color. Go to lunch on occasion. Don't do anything else. And you will play your part. Niceness is not anti-racism. It takes strategic, intentional action.
So how do white people help end racism? Well, first of all, we have to admit that we are racist. That's the biggest and the best thing that we can do, because after that, it's all downhill.
Because you can stop defending, deflecting, denying, being defensiveness, being guilty. I often ask people of color when I'm in front of a group, what would it be like if you could just tell us when we stepped in it and had us receive that feedback with grace, reflect, and seek to change the behavior? What would that be like? And I'll never forget this man of color raising his hand and saying, it would be revolutionary. And I just want you to take that in, revolutionary, that we would receive the feedback with grace on our inevitable and often unaware racist patterns, reflect on them, and seek to change them. That's how difficult we are.
Yeah.
That's a revolution. But that's how easy it is.
Yeah.
We just can't get there from the current paradigm that says, I've been untouched by the forces of racism, and if you suggest I've been touched by them, you just said I was bad.
Yeah.
We can't get there from that paradigm.
Look, our paper-thin skin and our fragile egos aren't helping anyone. If we can just own up to the fact that we have been relentlessly reinforced messages of superiority our entire lives, we can stop holding up centuries of racism. It's not that hard. We just have to admit it. But what are your thoughts on white fragility? Is this something that you've experienced in your life? Let me know in the comments section below, and make sure you hit that follow button while you're there.